check, sync 1, 2. Hey, what up world? My name is Sarvara, and I'm a sound designer, music producer, sound engineer. I just really love music and I love production. And so I thought I'd spread some of that love and some of the knowledge that I've acquired over the last decade by producing a sound design series. I find that traditional academia is sort of trailing behind in terms of modern day technology and the soundscape of today. So I want to provide the modern composer, the modern sound designer with a series to sort of ground them in the very fundamentals and the basics of sound design. So that's what this series is all about. We're going to be talking a little bit on the physics of sound, the mathematics of music, maybe some music theory, and just like a whole bunch of sound design, everything that has to do with sound. And so I'm going to start with the very basics, the very ground, which is exactly what is sound. So sound is an acoustical energy force that exists as a wave. And so a wave is an oscillation that travels through a medium. So you're talking about, well, what's an oscillation? An oscillation is actually defined as back and forth movement at a constant rate. So with sound, this movement is back and forth between positive and negative pressure values, actually. The pressure is fluctuating, and it's fluctuating back and forth between positive and negative values at a certain rate. And this rate directly corresponds to the frequency, which directly relates to the pitch and the musicality of the whole thing. And so really, this episode is about two things. We're going to be talking about amplitude, which can be correlated to loudness, and then there's frequency, which can be correlated directly into pitch. So a lower frequency is lower pitch, lower fluctuations of pressure, and then, of course, all the opposite is true. The super higher pitch is a super high oscillation, fluctuation back and forth. So human hearing range is actually between 20 hertz to 20,000. So a super bassy sound might have a frequency of 100 cycles per second. And so this brings up exactly, what is a cycle? So a cycle is from max positive all the way through the wave back to max positive. Or it can be 2 points in the wave cycle, which brings me to this sort of idea that we call phase. So a phase is where we're at in the cycle. If we're at max positive, if we're at zero crossing, if we're at max negative, or anywhere there in between. So I have here a sine wave graphed out on an x and y axis, and I've labeled the x-axis in pink with degrees phase. So you'll notice here as we travel left to right across this x-axis, every time we hit 90 degrees phase, we're at the exact same point. So that's what we mean by where we're at in the cycle. So that's phase. And we were talking about quantifying with hertz and that relating to frequency. So like I said, hertz is cycles per second. And so if you go from 90 to 90, that's one cycle. So right here, if we start at 0, we have 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3 cycles, 4 cycles here. Now it's crazy because we also have how long those 4 cycles took to complete. I've labeled this in black with the milliseconds. So we can actually figure out the graph, what actual note in terms of musicality this graph represents just by bringing up a calculator. So if I grab my calculator real quick and I say that we have 4 complete phases divided by 36 milliseconds, which I actually rounded. 36 milliseconds would look like this, but I rounded. It was supposed to be 3/6 repeating, just for space on the graph. So if we take 4 cycles per 36 milliseconds, well, we have a wave here that's 110 hertz, 110 cycles per second. And I made this graph on purpose to represent this because 110 hertz is the frequency of, I think it's A0, it might be A1, I'll have to double check on that. But no matter what it is, it's what we base, modern equal temperament on is 110 as A. That's how we define it, that's how modern temperament is defined. So that's just sort of a fun fact, and I want to just complete this lesson right here, not trying to take too much time. So yeah, if you just remember, sound is all about amplitude, which is just how loud it is, measured in decibels, and then you also have frequency, which is just how fast it's oscillating. So I hope you found this video useful. If you like it, please like it. If you love it, sub it. Peace out, happy making music.